Welcome to Mommispace, the podcast for moms of all stages. My name is Aubrey Coots, and this podcast was created to give moms a voice to share their experiences and to share that there's not just one way to be a mom. This is a place where you can learn to love the woman inside the mother. Welcome back to Mommispace. This is Aubrey Coots, and today I get to interview Deanna Skolos, who is a returning guest. She was on Mommispace with Bree about a year and a half ago when Mommispace was first kicking off. So I wanted to bring her back to just hear more about what she's doing. And with this month's theme of health and wellness, I know that that's something that she prioritizes. So I thought it would be cool to hear from her and to hear how things have even progressed in the last year and a half in things that she's been doing with that personally and with her family. So Deanna, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So for those that don't know you, I'd love if you could start by just telling us a little bit about yourself and about your family and where you're from and the story of your journey into motherhood.
All right. So I was born and raised in Orange County, California. So was my husband. We actually met at a Bible study and got together. We started doing ministry together. When we got married, we went straight to ministry school in Redding up at Bethel. And I actually had a lot of family issues. My mom had 4th stage cancer, and we were coming back from Redding like 2 weeks out of the month to help with that.
Yeah.
And it was the hardest season of my life, definitely. And my mom ended up passing away. She gave her life to the Lord right before, though, which was amazing.
Wow.
But I actually found out I was pregnant like a month after.
Okay.
And we weren't trying, and I wasn't wanting to be a mom, and so I felt really overwhelmed. It felt like really bad timing. We were only married 7 months and had no money, and was still grieving losing my mom.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh my gosh, I cried when I found out. And we moved back to Orange County with just no plans. We lived with Michael's family. But those two things are really what got me into health, where my mom passing away from cancer because she had breast cancer, but it didn't really run in our family, but she had a very unhealthy lifestyle.
Okay.
And now that I was pregnant, I was just like astonished to how much we didn't know and how uneducated we were our whole lives. Like I grew up eating very unhealthy. Like I would go to Wiener Central and eat like 2 corn dogs and 2 chili dogs. And that was like normal life for me. So I really had no concept of health or eating well.
Yeah.
And just like that's my passion is really just to like, not even really to like lose weight or body image, but simply just to be healthy for my future and my kids' futures.
Yeah. Wow. That's a crazy backstory. But obviously like with your mom passing away, like that makes sense that would become something that is so important to you and your family. Yeah. So that kind of already answers my next question of how did health and wellness first become a priority to you? But it sounds like you answered that. So is there anything else you'd want to add?
Yeah, I had a friend who she had her own skincare line, and I worked for her when I was pregnant. Yeah, so she started teaching me just about like the products, like mostly beauty products. Like for instance, shampoo we use strips your hair of all its natural oils, so that you have to buy a conditioner to restore the moisture. And it's kind of this vicious cycle of buying products. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like I don't know, I kind of was open to that beauty products and even food, the industry. It's just very involved with money, not necessarily my well-being. Right. And we kind of have to like figure that out for ourselves, what's good for us, because we kind of just trust, the food industry. But unfortunately, we're seeing like a lot of health issues from the food we eat, from the products that we use. And so she like first opened my eyes. And I'm the kind of person, once I learn something, I like have to tell people. Yeah. And I really just wanted an outlet to do that. Like I just got really into it, really passionate, especially making it simple for people, because I started learning about health and I felt really overwhelmed. Like I was like, oh my gosh, everything is bad for us. And then I don't even know what to eat and I don't know how to start. It feels so hard to like start eating healthy. And then I would try to like, you know, follow bloggers and things like that. But it felt, again, too hard. I'm like, I don't know why they're eating the things they're eating. I'm not a good cook. I didn't know how to cook at all. Like, Michael actually cooked for the beginning of our marriage. I didn't know how to grocery shop. And yeah, I was really overwhelmed. And so my heart is to make it feel really easy and simple to make that transition from not eating well to eating well, or like changing all your beauty products over, things like that. So that's why I started the Instagram, and I have like a blog and a website. Was really just to educate people. Like, I'm not much of like a recipe maker. Like, I forced myself to learn how to cook, but I'm not like amazing at it. But my heart is to like educate people, because if you know the why behind eating well, it's easy to make it a lifestyle rather than just like a temporary diet that you're just doing for a little.
Right.
Because me knowing why this is better for me and why that's bad for me is what keeps me going on like continuing my healthy diet. So my goal is really to educate people.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I've seen. And that's part of the reason I wanted to like talk to you, because I have been really like encouraged at how simple you keep things. And even earlier today, I was looking, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but you were like comparing different grocery stores and just like talking about, you know, different things that they offer and some of the differences. And I'm like, that's really practical and easy for someone to watch and learn, instead of like, okay, I have to like go see a nutritionist and, you know, figure out all these things in my life. So yeah, that's really great. I'm curious, what does it look like to incorporate health and wellness within your family as a whole?
So it took a while to get my husband on board.
Yeah.
My biggest tool would be to like make one change at a time. So for example, like, okay, we just switched like from normal milk to almond milk until that was normal. And that was just like, we're used to almond milk. So now I'm going to switch from getting like not organic chicken to organic chicken. And then that was normal. And then I kept just doing one thing at a time, where it's more of a, you know, slow progression.
Yeah.
I think, which is easier for men. I just notice it's harder for husbands to like get on board with the healthy eating.
Yeah.
But, you know, it took a couple of years, but now my husband's like totally on board. When he does go eat lunch, he'll still like, you know, get something maybe I wouldn't get. But, you know, I'm really big on like, we eat well at least 80% of the time.
Yeah.
And that 20%, it's okay if, you know, my daughter Evelyn's at a friend's house and she has something that, you know what I mean, we wouldn't have in our house. I'm totally fine with that, because with eating well, it's not like you eat one bad thing and it's going to give you cancer. It's like the long term, that's all you're eating, plus a lack of nutrients that your body needs, is really like where the issue is. And so 80-20 is like how I incorporate it. Just, it makes it more, it's so hard in this day and age. You can't just like 100% eat only healthy things. You know what I mean? With the society that we live in.
Yeah.
Another thing that helped was to, I told my husband, was to make food that he's already used to eating, but they're healthier versions.
Okay.
So for example, like waffles, I started making paleo waffles, and he was like, oh, these are like better than normal waffles. And so for him, it didn't feel like he was eating differently, because he got to eat the same food. And you just switch up the quality of those foods. It's really about quality.
Right.
And that really helps, is like, I just think of like, oh, what food do we really like? Like, we really like quesadillas. And so I'll get sprouted tortillas, raw cheddar, and then grass-fed beef. And then my husband loves it, you know what I mean? But I know he's getting good quality ingredients that are like real food.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a great point. And I loved what you said about like incorporating one new thing at a time. Because for me, I grew up like, my mom like would shop and buy mostly all like organic, and so I had a pretty healthy like upbringing in regards to food, at least at home. And I feel like I'm like somewhere in between. Like, I'm like, I want to grow more in this. I know that I can give my family and myself healthier options. But it does feel overwhelming to me. So that's helpful to be like, just one thing at a time. And it's like, okay, I always buy this on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. Like, swapping
Yeah.
that out for, something that's better quality. That's really practical and helpful.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And with Evelyn, I really tried to like just start her off healthy as much as I could, to where now she's just kind of used to it, where she'll like actually prefer, healthier options over unhealthy options.
Yeah.
So my advice for moms is like, try and start off that way. And then, say they're already 3, 4, 5 or older, just try the one thing at a time thing, and they won't notice as much. Or try like, you can make kid foods like pizza and mac and cheese and just make good quality versions of it.
Yeah. 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 That's something I was thinking. I'm like, man, like there's certain things that are just easy to make for my kids at times that I'm like,
and you need those. Like I have those
yeah,
too. Like that's kind of falls in the 20% where you're like, I just need a quick meal for her.
Yeah, totally. And that's helpful too to hear, like, okay, 80-20, like maybe like if we're eating at home or if you're cooking or your husband's cooking, like using better quality products and making something that you guys still like that's healthier. But like you said, it's like I mean, I know of certain people that have like been in my life and in the past that are like, oh, we can't eat this and this, and I'm like, well, I don't know what to make, if you're like going to a friend's house or something. So
yeah, exactly.
that is
or if
helpful.
you eat out, it's really hard. Yeah, if you're eating out, it's really difficult. And I mean, people with food allergies, I totally get it, but none of us do, and so we have some leeway, which is nice.
Yeah. And I feel like more and more, even eating out, usually there's still options that are like better alternatives than
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's good. Okay, so with your blog and so you said blog, website, and Instagram, those are kind of like your 3 platforms. What does your typical week look like with promoting health and wellness to others in the midst of mom life?
So I told myself from the beginning, I was like, I'm just going to do what I'm already doing and like what sounds fun. There's some aspects of like blogging that isn't fun. Like I tried kind of, making somewhat of an income off it. And then I was just like, this is really tiring and not worth the money. Okay. And so it's just like a passion for me. And I just do it all like, whatever for no money. And I'm not really pursuing it for that. It's more of a ministry for me. Like I'm genuinely passionate about getting people to eat healthy.
Yeah.
Especially Christians, like I feel like our society is so far off from like what God intended us to eat and how to live, that my heart is to like get people whole physically. And I think a lot of it is with diet, what we're putting on our bodies. Like the Lord gave me an analogy of a plant, and this kind of ties in with like my mom, like I had a struggle with that. Lord, why is this happening? Why does she have cancer? And it's like, if we're feeding a plant like, chemicals, like junk that it's not meant to be fed, like it's meant to be fed water, you know what I mean? The plant's going to die. And then we blame God, which makes no sense. And so I was just like, I'm passionate about changing people's minds to be like, let's, take responsibility of our bodies and of our lives and give it real food.
Yeah.
And so that like, it's a ministry for me. And so I just kind of document what I'm already doing or what I'm already learning myself. So I'm kind of just taking people on my journey. Like I'm not an expert. I do have like a health coach certification. Okay. Which is cool to have. I didn't learn as much as I was hoping. Like I'd love to do maybe like a longer one, but it's nice to have that. But really I'm just like, this is what I'm learning, so I'm going to share it. And there's kind of that pressure, like, oh, I have to post every day on my story or this or that. But if nothing's going on that's interesting, or I'm just trying to be present, then I don't worry about it. Yeah. And I don't write blogs as much as I would like. What I would love to do with it is make like an app to where it's like really practical things. Like, okay, I'm at Trader Joe's. What's like healthy to get here? And it's like a list. Oh, or cool. Here's some like cool recipes. I would love like more of like a resource where all the, like everything I know is in one area. Okay. Easy to find. So it's kind of my long-term dream. Yeah. To be an app. It's just a big undertaking. So I'm just kind of waiting. But yeah, my website kind of have just like certain rules to like live by, you know what I mean? So like, you know, get grass-fed beef over this, certain mindsets, like the kind of the gradual changes mindset. So I
Yeah,
have that on my website, just little summary things. So I think you got to change the way you think before you can see actions change.
totally.
And so I have that on my website.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's helpful for people who are, wanting to have a better idea of some changes to make. They can check out your website too. Yeah. So what advice or practical steps would you give? I know you've kind of shared a lot along the way, but what steps would you give to moms who are wanting to promote a healthier lifestyle in their family or in their own lives?
Yeah. So yeah, I shared the make gradual changes. That one's huge. Another one is like to be like all good things take time. So it's like usually the healthier it is, it's kind of like the longer it takes you to make it. Like making something from scratch is going to be healthier. Or like we're meant to have sprouted grains. So like you sprout the wheat berries and then grind it up and then make the bread. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like the healthier things tend to take more time and patience, which our culture doesn't really know. We get everything that we want right away.
Right.
So I really learned to like just grow in patience, and like good things take time, and learning how to make things from scratch and all that. Because usually those quicker meals or fast food, like they aren't as healthy.
Right.
So just kind of learning good things take time, which is, it's hard as a mom, but I kind of will like, every once in a while learn a new thing to make from scratch and just kind of keep practicing it. And then it kind of becomes second nature after a while.
Yeah.
Another one, I talked about quality. So quality makes a big difference. Yeah. I'm really big on quality. So for example, what I said before, getting organic chicken versus non-organic, there's certain things that make a difference. Getting grass-fed beef over normal beef, and you do pay a little bit more for it, but that's why I think it's important to know the why behind it, because otherwise you're not going to want to put your money there. And so that's why I research, okay, why is it better to have grass-fed beef? It's because they're not eating corn and like all these GMOs and things that they're not meant to be eating. It's like you are what the cows are eating, because you're eating the cow. Yeah. And so quality is huge. Sprouted grains, so like sprouted bread, sprouted tortillas. We were meant to actually have like all grains, beans, nuts, and seeds sprouted. That's how, like, even if you talk to my friend's Persian, he's like, oh, my mom always sprouted nuts. And I was like, really? I've never even like heard about it. Yeah. And so I always try to buy pre-sprouted. I used to sprout my own like black beans and things like that, but I don't know, they're just seasons. There's seasons where I used to like make my own kombucha, make my own yogurt. Yeah. But there's times and seasons for certain things like that. But quality is important. Pasture-raised eggs versus normal eggs, which again is just like the condition of like where the chicken is living and what they're eating. It just really affects the quality of the chicken, and you're eating that. Yeah. I'm also big on like not using conventional sugar. There's so many other good alternatives, such as honey, coconut sugar, even like maple syrup or like monk fruit or stevia, bananas or dates. So that's like a good just quality thing. Like you can still have things that are sweet. Right. But like getting it from real food is way better for you than getting it from sugar. Yeah. And those are just easy switches. Like there's this monk fruit sugar, Lakanto syrup, or Lakanto, they have a syrup too. Lakanto monk fruit sugar, and it's literally like a 1-to-1 ratio. So if a recipe asks for a cup of sugar, you just put a cup of this monk fruit sweetened sugar. Yeah. And so
I literally have never heard of monk fruit, so I'm learning new things.
Yes. So monk fruit, it's kind of like a new, like a stevia type thing, but it's a little bit better for you. These monks found it a long time ago. But it's from a fruit, but there's no like sugar in it, kind of similar to stevia. Okay. But I'm kind of used to the taste of all those things. Yeah. It's probably a little bit of an adjustment. But even honey is a good replacement, but that's such an easy swap. Yeah, totally. So I have a few more swaps. Oh, fish. So fish you really want to buy wild, especially salmon. Because when they farm salmon, it's similar to like chickens. They're just like, you know, a ton of fish in a really small area, and they all get like sick, so then they have to give them a bunch of antibiotics, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you really want wild fish, which you know, you're usually paying more for, but if you know why, it makes that more helpful.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, just eating more veggies. We tend to eat like a ton of meat in America.
Yeah.
So kind of cutting it down, doing a little bit more plant-based, I think is good.
Yeah. I'm curious about like eating more plant-based because I feel like every time I want to, my husband's like, "Where's the meat?" And so I'm just curious, like with your husband, have you found like recipes or figured out how to do like less meat and still have like filling meals?
Yeah. So I used to make these like black bean quinoa burgers that were really filling, because I mean beans are pretty filling, and it's really flavorful. It was sweet potato, quinoa, black beans, and you like mash it all together and then like fry it in like avocado oil. So I used to make those a lot. I'll like buy vegan stuff here and there. I don't really like it because there's usually like kind of other junk in it.
Right.
But my husband, like, he loves these. It's called Beyond Meat burger patties, but it's just like all meat. But they're like so flavorful, because vegetables are actually more flavorful than meat.
Right.
That's why you have to like always flavor the meat. He actually likes those more than regular burgers, so we'll do those sometimes. But again, like, meat isn't bad. People kind of tend to go like extreme. But I personally think we were meant to eat meat, and there's a lot of like health benefits from eating meat. I just think it's not sustainable to like eat meat every meal, and that's how we've been raised. You know, you have some sort of meat in breakfast, some sort of meat at lunch, some sort of meat in dinner, where your meal almost feels not complete if you're eating you know, you don't have meat in it.
Yeah.
But that's not like a normal thing. I always think, like, my logic on how we're meant to eat, I just think of like Bible times, and I'm like, they ate meat as like a celebration. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't this everyday thing. And so, yeah, we try to cut it back so it's not every meal, or it's just not like the focus of our meal. Like, I'll do like a little bit of meat with something and then more veggies.
Yeah.
And it's cheaper.
Oh, yeah.
Cheaper to do less meat and more veggies.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting because I was like thinking, I'm like, okay, so if I swap out and do, you know, organic chicken and grass-fed beef and wild caught salmon, you know, like thinking, I'm like, that all, you know, adds up. But then, like you said, it's like, but if you're eating more veggies or other, even like sprouted beans or different things like that, it's like, it comes out to be the same. Like, you're going to end up spending about the same if you're just not eating as much meat.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
and I'll make up for the cost by like making more things from scratch, which I know takes time and it's hard when you have a bunch of kids, but making things from scratch is always cheaper, because when you're at a store and it's somewhat pre-made, like, you're paying for them to make it for you, essentially.
Totally.
And so, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things you can make from scratch that save money. Even something simple like, you know, you could buy frozen zoodles, like zucchini noodles. It's probably gonna be like $4. Or I can buy a zucchini for like 50 cents and like make my own zoodles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
totally.
those like add up over time.
Yeah.
So that really helps. And dairy. I want to talk about dairy. So I'm a big advocate for raw dairy. It's a little controversial because, you know, they started pasteurizing dairy back in the day when like the factories were really dirty.
Yeah.
And sanitation wasn't good, like in the 20s. Okay. Whereas now we don't really have to, but when they pasteurize it, which means they heat the milk, they kill the enzyme your body needs to even digest it. So that's why everyone these days are lactose intolerant, because some people your body can recreate that enzyme to digest the lactose, but some people can't, or over time their body loses the ability.
Wow. That's crazy.
I know. It's not crazy. So I know that one like blew my mind. I was like, what? Why don't we know this? Yeah. So when people buy Lactaid, like if they're lactose intolerant, they just manually put that enzyme back in.
Oh, okay. Wow. I didn't know anything about that.
When you pasteurize it, it actually, so it kills the enzyme, but it also kills all the other nutrients. Which is why they like fortify milk, because there's like no more nutrients in it, essentially. Yeah. So I'm a big advocate for raw dairy, which there's not that many brands that do it. Organic Pastures Dairy is an awesome company because they like are really clean. They like filter it 3 times, and I met the owners are super nice. They're in like Sacramento,
Okay.
and they sell at Sprouts
Okay.
and Mothers.
Yeah.
And it's expensive, but it's because the FDA puts really strict rules, like cleanliness guidelines on them.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it's really expensive. And a lot of states it's actually illegal to have raw
Okay.
dairy, but in California you can. So we don't drink a lot of milk, but I always have raw cheddar on hand.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's actually like a ton of good benefits from raw dairy, a lot of good health benefits.
Yeah.
Another easy switch is bone broth instead of normal chicken broth.
Okay.
So like chicken broth was meant to be, you would take the bones from a chicken, put it with water, and then like let it cook on low for like 24 to 48 hours.
Okay.
And it's pulling all the nutrients out of the bones. So like all the collagen.
Yeah.
And then that's like the base for your soup. So what we've been having these days is literally just like chicken flavored water with like no nutrients.
Wow.
Again, because like we're noticing the shift because all these things take a lot of time. Sprouting things, making bone broth, it all takes like 2 days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why companies didn't really do it. And then you have shelf life at grocery stores and all that.
Yeah.
But that's why they say chicken soup's good when you're sick. It's supposed to be like bone broth and you have all the collagen and all those.
So it's just a
So there's
cultural
things that
thing,
we're
but it's not
missing.
even helping
Yeah, I
people.
know.
Wow.
It's not, yeah. And now it's kind of a trend. There's a lot of bone broth everywhere. But
Yeah.
that's such an easy switch. It doesn't taste different at all.
Yeah.
It is a little more expensive, but I think it's worth it.
Do you make your own bone broth or do you buy it?
Yeah, so it kind of depends if I'm in a busy season, but it's like off and on. I'll buy a whole chicken from Sprouts, a whole organic chicken.
Yeah.
I'll put it in a crock pot, cook it, shred all the meat off, use that for like salads and meals,
Yeah.
and then take the bones, put it in my crock pot with water and like
Yeah.
onion and celery,
Yeah.
and then have it cook for like 24 to 48 hours, and then
Okay.
make bone broth.
Okay.
So then it's cheaper. It's like I'm getting meat for the whole week.
Totally.
Plus I'm getting those bones. I'm getting bone broth.
Yeah. No, that's great. I was curious about that because I've made like chicken broth, but I haven't done it.
Mm-hmm.
When you said 24 to 48 hours, I'm like, oh, I for sure haven't done it for that long.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and then I was wondering, I'm like, I don't want my stove to go that long. So crock pot, there you go. That makes sense.
Yes, crock pot. Mm-hmm.
I'll have to try that.
Yeah.
I have a whole chicken right now, so maybe I'll try that this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, those are all like super practical switches, and that's really helpful. I'll put it in the show notes too, but where can people find you?
So Instagram is simply_wealthy, but WELL as in like well.
Got it.
And that's on Instagram. My website's the same thing, simplywealthy.com, no underscore. You guys could check that out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man, I feel like this really was like such a wealth of information. But I do want to ask you just a couple more questions and then we'll wrap it up. With this could be health related, it could just be life related, or maybe both. Mm-hmm. But what is the legacy you want to leave for your children?
Yeah, I think I just want Evelyn to know, I only have one right now, but my children to know that they can change the world in whatever way they feel called. Because I think when the Lord was like kind of prompting me to like start this blog and Instagram and like this is like a ministry, I was like really hesitant because I was like, it just seems so overwhelming. There's so much change that needs to happen. What am I going to do? And the Lord really encouraged me, like, it starts with one person, like you can make a difference to change the world in this sphere of influence, you know what I mean? This sphere of like health. And so I hope that they know they can change the world in any area the Lord calls them to. Yeah,
that's really good. Okay, one last little bonus compilation, I guess, question. What are you currently eating, reading, listening to, and watching?
All right. Eating. So I'm doing this thing, it's kind of a long explanation. I'm doing this thing called anti-candida diet. And candida is like an overgrown like yeast fungus in your body. that you can get from like taking antibiotics often, when you're younger and all that. So I'm doing that diet right now. I usually tend to not do diets, but I had these infections and it was from this candida. And so it's no sugar, no yeast, no grains, no starches, no sugary fruit.
Wow.
And I've been doing it probably like a month, and I've been really liking it. So I'm essentially like paleo.
Okay.
But low or sugar. So like I can't do a lot of sugary fruits. So I eat a lot of Siete grain-free chips, a lot of grain-free Simple Mills crackers and cookies, because they sweeten it with coconut sugar, and you can have that occasionally.
Yeah.
So you can like occasionally have honey and coconut sugar and like stevia.
Okay.
But candida feeds off the sugar, so you really want to have low sugar, and it feeds off yeast, so no yeast. So yeah, that's what I'm eating. It's pretty paleo, I would say.
Okay.
People know how to reference that.
Yeah.
And then, what was it, reading?
Yes.
I'm reading Seth Dahl's parenting book, When Parenting. He was like the children's pastor at Bethel.
Okay.
And he has awesome wisdom. So yeah, I just feel like I've been wanting to be more intentional with my parenting, and he's like super intentional. So I've been
Cool. It's called Win-Win Parenting?
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's kind of a mixture. I love to like learn about health, and so I'll listen to a lot of like Dr. Axe.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I love his stuff. So mostly on YouTube, I'll just watch his videos on various health topics.
Yeah.
And I am obsessed with Friends. I'm always watching Friends.
Yes. That's awesome.
When I was pregnant, I just binged on Friends. It just came on Netflix. And yeah, I just love rewatching it.
Cool. Those are fun. Thank you so much, Deanna, for being on the show today. And I'm just really excited for people to get to learn from you and listen to some of the things that you shared. So yeah, thanks for being on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to check out all of the goodness from today's episode on the show notes and share this with a friend if it impacted you in any way. You can also leave a review on iTunes so other mamas can join in the movement of loving the woman inside the mother. Join our online Mommispace community every day by following us on Instagram at Mommispace, that's MOMMI space, where you can interact with me, some of our past guests, ask simple or hard questions, and give your valuable input on how to make Mommispace an even more beautiful, safe place for mamas all over the world. All my love to you, mama. You are enough.